Hi there, my name is Goradia. Those of you who watch this channel know that it's kind of a straddling of two different topics here. I'm talking about somatic experiencing, healing traumas. A lot of that is on the level of the individual or the ego identities that have been traumatized. And then I also talk about non-dual awareness, non-duality, and seeing from the spiritual perspective, being not identifying with the ego identities or the traumas. And so today I want to talk about how it's really no one's responsibility to prop up your ego. And this could be a very sensitive topic for some people. But when we have a trauma, that's something very sensitive. And oftentimes there is some sort of ego protection around this because we didn't have any other coping tools. It's not like we're trying to be egotistical or defensive about a sort of trauma, but it's like that's how the mind is wired. That's how we're wired when there's no other tools or resources. We have some sort of ego protection. So even if no one is responsible for propping up that ego, that doesn't mean that they should just be insensitive and it's fine and they get to be, but it's still important for you to know this, that okay, that was kind of an ego injury about this trauma that I had. And I want to just own how I feel about that. And maybe it'll even allow myself to access something that got buried deep inside, that this person saying something insensitive, it's going to pull that up in me so that I can take responsibility for feeling it through. However, this is with the caveat, it's not on that person's terms. You feeling through your traumas is always on your terms. You can keep the ego protection, you can set boundaries, you can do all that, and you can decide, am I even in a place where I have the capacity to feel this through? Have I gotten a good night's sleep? Have I gotten a good meal? Do I feel like I have enough energy to do this? Otherwise, I'm going to do this later. I'm going to do this tomorrow. That's okay. That's the beauty of, our bodies know when it's okay to suppress these things when we don't have the resources at this time. So you still do it on your terms, but I'm talking about how to frame it. Okay, that it's something where, okay, that did happen and it does bring up a feeling inside of me. Okay, maybe that wouldn't have really come up. Maybe nothing would have triggered that for me had that person not said that. Maybe it was something kind of lost and buried so long ago. And so it can be an opportunity to feel the stuff through. And, again, not on their terms, but they're also not responsible for propping up the ego identity. So it doesn't mean they can knock it down and be insensitive. That's not okay. I'm not condoning that. But they're also not responsible for propping it up. So if I have a trauma ego identity, someone can listen and they can, be kind and empathize, but they don't have to feed it. And I know that this could be a little bit sensitive for people who've gone through a lot of trauma. I've gone through a lot of trauma myself. Like, please know this is just a level playing field that I'm speaking on. And I know in my own journey, I had kind of plateaued for a while as I had identified with the trauma identity. I am the one who went through the trauma, and it was true. And I had plateaued in my healing until I had expanded the viewpoint to the non-dual, where it's like, okay, wait a minute, who is the one that went through the trauma? And that is going to go very deep. And I'm going to put this in a different video. Okay. I'll try to make that one soon, but you can do some inquiry on who was that. And for this video, however, what I want to do is just focus on the phenomenon of ego propping, because we can see that in other people, right? We can see like, oh, that person just wants me to like say that they're great all the time. And it's exhausting, right? To have to do that. And you don't want to do that for somebody else. Like, it feels like, it's different if it's like a child. A child needs that. Okay. Children, they need their egos to function. They need healthy egos. They need someone to believe in them. We want to reassure them, no, honey, you're very good at this, and you're a hard worker, and you're so kind. And we want to prop their egos. That's normal. But when we're an adult and, we might get stuck in something, and no matter what, we just can't recognize our self-worth. That is our own responsibility to discover. And we can get help from that. We can get mentors or therapists or counselors, and we can do that. But consider that this self-worth, it's not going to come from constant ego propping, because if I try to prop my ego, yeah, I'm good enough because I was smart and I did really great on this test, right? And then the moment I don't do well on a test, that self-image that I'm good enough, that I'm worth something, I made it contingent on doing well on this test. So then my self-worth comes crashing down, right? So I don't want to have to ego prop to have the self-worth. I might let myself, feel the collapse, feel the shame that made me feel like I wasn't good enough, feel it through. And then there's no need to prop, because I'm not compensating for not feeling. If I'm not feeling the shame, I need to put the ego prop there, right? So I don't feel. So when we're in a safe place, it's always on your terms, okay? You get to decide when you want to feel. When we're in a safe place, we can go into it. Okay, yeah, I guess that's where I feel it. Here it is. Okay, it's about this big. It's in my chest. Feels like it's the density of a liquid or a gas or a solid or a gel. And it seems like it's a certain kind of color spontaneously arises in my mind. I want to just kind of be with this and feel it through, allow it to be there, not be so afraid of being with it or feeling it, be present with it. And then as we do that and we're not resisting it, it'll oftentimes get felt through. Sometimes it'll remain, but we won't have resistance to it. And the cycle is still done. We don't have to get rid of an emotion. We are biological creatures designed to feel the full range of sentient human emotions. We're never going to escape our biology. We're never going to stop feeling. There's always going to be something that we're feeling. It's the resistance to the feelings that are the problem. So we want to be able to feel this through, and then there's nothing left to prop. So I almost think of too much ego propping as kind of, I understand when there's not enough resources to feel, but if there are, we're kind of not taking responsibility to feel, and so we can try to do that as we're able, but just to recognize no one owes you the ego prop. And I'm sure a lot of you know this if you've been on the other end of this, where you're always propping someone else's ego. And it takes a lot of energy, and you can notice that no matter what you say, it's not going to help them feel differently about themselves, because you can't change their belief. They have to do that from the inside out. And that applies for ourselves as well. I don't like making videos where I'm pointing the finger at someone else. You can notice that. So I'm always, okay, what can we learn from that? Where do we see that in ourselves? Oh yeah, I guess I kind of do that on this situation. Okay, where can I take responsibility for that? Right? Other people are mirroring things back to us. Even if it's their stuff and their behavior, we can always be learning from everybody we meet, every behavior we see. Where do I see that in myself? Okay, here. Okay, I'm going to take responsibility for feeling, so that people don't have to feel like they have to do that for me. And yes, occasionally is fine. We all need support and reminders of our worth and all of that stuff. But I mean, on a chronic basis, just notice where that's something where you can grow and we can mature when we address those traumas. So let me know what you think. I'm really interested in reading the comments. I'll see you next time.